Michael, do you want to talk about what is logos?
Yeah, it's the Greek word for speech. It's the Greek word for word, the Greek word for language, the Greek word for rationality, the Greek word for order. And I could go on and on, but there are about 5 pages of English equivalents in the Liddell Scott Unabridged Greek English Dictionary. It is basically a term that is really necessary to use in the original because any English translation doesn't do it justice. And I think the classic example of this is the first line of the Gospel of St. John, which is translated, "In the beginning, there was the Word." I mean, I've been a Christian my entire life since I've been baptized, and since I can read or read the Gospel, I could never understand what that meant. But in Greek, it says, "En arche en ho logos." In the beginning, there was logos. In other words, there was order at the beginning of everything. Now, this is a statement. It seems obvious, but it's not obvious. And what we're talking about is roughly 1,000 years of the best and the brightest engaged in a debate and meditation on what this means. For example, Greek thought began with Homer, and it began with Hesiod. Homer told the story of the Iliad and the Odyssey, which is basically like a superhero's comic book of people fighting each other and making speeches, and the gods fighting each other and making speeches. And then Hesiod decided to take it a step further. They're practically contemporaries, but he decided to write a book about the beginning of everything. And it was called the Theogony. And what it was about the birth of the gods. Hesiod said, in the beginning, everything was chaos. So if you take those 2 points, you're talking about basically 1,000 years. 1,000 years, maybe give or take a century or two. Beginning with trying to understand man, trying to understand the world that he lived in, and understanding that it was kind of complicated, but there was an order to it, and that the mind could apprehend that order, and you could talk about it. And that's the dialogue that took place, and it went, as I said, from saying in the beginning there was chaos to St. John saying in the beginning there was order, there was logos. That's the trajectory. I guess that's the heart of the trajectory that we're talking about.